Hi, and thanks for coming to Auntie Coley's house. Today, we're going to make a no-sew blanket. All you need is a pair of scissors and some material and a ruler. And 2 sides of material because you're going to end up cutting and tying them together. So this is the one I made for Bruce, my cat. He uses this in his cat carrier and in the car and wherever else Bruce wants it. So, if you're ready to follow along, stay tuned. Today's super easy blanket project for you, even if you feel that you have no creativity whatsoever. This one's super easy. And you can just do it out of scraps. I actually bought this at a big box store and it was just in a scrap box. So, what you can do with this is my cute little stuff here. You take your material, make sure that you're cutting this 2 sides, okay? So you need 2 separate sides that are exactly the same length and width, okay? And then you're gonna put the bad sides together. So the bad sides are the sides that you do not want to see because we're going to make little cuts in here. We're going to tie knots. It's just a knotted tied blanket and perfect for little nephews, lap blankets for an elderly person. You can use these for anything and they're so super easy to make and really cheap, okay? So I'm going to go over to the floor for a minute and I'll teach you how to just cut these. We'll tie it and literally you might have a half hour in the whole project, okay? Okay, so I'll head over to the floor and I'll meet you there. Okay, we're on the floor. I just spread the blanket out. Now I want you guys to make one of these, and if you're real fancy, they have plastic ones of these that you can buy in a store, like one of the sewing stores. But we're going to cut each part of your knots here 1 inch, okay, on both sides. So they're 1 inch segments. But out of each corner, we have to cut a 5-inch segment out in both sides. So you're going to, I made this, but just make sure I put that on the corner and just make sure you're going to cut right around this one. Then you're going to cut on each side. You're going to do each of these a 5-inch, okay, on each corner. And this just makes sure that your blanket turns square, okay? All right. And we're going to do this on all sides, all corners, okay? Also, pro tip, make sure that you get a pair of scissors that is for cutting material, okay? You'll thank me later for that. If you don't have them, go ahead and use your own. It's just a little harder. And you're just going to have maybe some little nicks in your material. And again, these don't have to be super perfect. It's just a fun project. Okay, once you get your corners out, they should all look like this, okay? All the corners are out, and that's Bruce. Hi, Bruce. Great. So, get all your corners out, and then the next thing you're going to do is just lay your whole blanket out And you need to find some kind of straight edge, okay? That's going to make sure that you cut each 1-inch strip 5 inches, okay? So if you have a yardstick, that'd be super. I don't know where my yardstick is, so I've got this great big level that I'm going to use, okay? And you put it on your blanket where you have these 5-inch cuts, okay? And then just make sure that it's 5 inches. So get your tape measure out and just make sure you're at 5 inches, okay? 5 inches. Okay, so mine is at 5 inches. And if you make little mistakes, if they're not 5 inches, don't worry about it. At the end, if you need to just clip the top of the little knots off, you'll be just fine, okay? I have all of these inch marks on here, okay, which I'm going to turn over and use so that I can make each of these an inch, okay? And then, so what you'll do is you will cut straight from here. 5, make sure I'm at 5, still at 5 inches. Yep, okay. Okay, so all you're going to do is you're going to start here. You're going to start on this part of the cut, right? And then look at your yardstick so that you make 1-inch cuts, okay? And go all the way to your yardstick, or like I've got my level here, okay? So you have to do this all the way around. You're just cutting 1-inch strips. Okay, see, these are all 1 inch. All 1 inch. Okay, so I'll let you just watch me cut them all the way around, and then we'll tie them in knots. And then you can see the finished blanket.
Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? And where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go?
Okay, so I'll give you a little bird's eye view from the top. All of those are all 1 inch, okay? And then we'll start on the other side. Okay, we're back at the table. Your blanket should be all cut, and now we are just going to tie your 1-inch segments in knots. All right, so let's find the sides here. Okay, so you start at your sides and you just take your 2, right? And you just wrap them around your finger. Wrap them like that. Bring it through. Okay. Pull it down. There you go. There's 1. Okay. So we'll do it again. You got to do this to each one of these, okay? Put them around your fingers. Push them through. Push the knot down. And you have these fringes here, okay? Again, take your 2. Put them around your fingers. You know, kind of like when you're doing balloons, when you're tying balloons. Not kind of, it is exactly. Okay, and then just pull that down. Okay, now keep doing this until you have completed your entire blanket. Now, also, I want you to make sure, I just did this one out of scrap to show you guys how to do it, okay? It is going to be pretty skinny. So I'm just going to use it for the cat. The cat can lay on it. Bruce loves all this stuff. So after you have decided who you're making it for, who you're making your blanket for, so like if it's a toddler, and if it's a baby, maybe about a yard or so, and like a toddler, depending on what their size is, go to like 1.5 yards, and then adult, you can go 2 yards, or if they're 6'4", figure it out. It's just got to be super big. But make sure that you remember you got to take 5 inches off of all the sides, okay? So when you're taking 5 inches off all the sides, it can make your blanket, that much skinnier. So whatever the width is, if you take 5 inches off each side to make your knots here, remember, in your width that you make it and in your length, you have to know that it's going to be 10 inches shorter than what you're looking at when you cut it. You can go to any one of the, I got fuzzy fleece stuff all over me. You can go to the fabric stores and they'll cut it for you. You can ask them and you can have a better look at. So if you want them to be 4 feet wide, just make sure you cut it 4 feet 10 inches, okay? Okay, so I'm going to finish tying this and then I'll show you the finished product. So this is your fun new blanket. You can see you got all your knots tied. You can make one side one color, one side another color. This one's long and skinny, so I think I'm going to put this one in the back of my car, under the back window, so that cat can lay on that when we go on trips. But you can use these for anything and everything, little kids and adults alike. So have lots of fun, super easy. All you need is a scissor and a yardstick to do all this, and your material, of course. Good luck. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. I'll get them. Thanks.